everyone. Welcome to the 2020 Imaginative Film Festival panel on the Imaginative Screenwriting Intensive number 2. This is our second year doing the intensive. My name is Eva Thomas, and I am the facilitator. And I'd like to thank Mentor for the program. And I'm here with the 4 writers who have participated in the program. And we'll talk a little bit about the projects, a little bit about themselves, and a little bit about the workshop. So with that in mind, I sort of like to go around and give everyone an opportunity to introduce themselves and their project. So how about I start with Justin?
Hi, my name is Justin Descharmes. I'm a Métis filmmaker from Treaty 1 territory, a small community called St. Ambrose. I'm currently located on unceded ancestral territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh, which is colonially known as Vancouver. The project that I have written throughout this intensive is a story about a creative and beloved two-spirit sex worker whose day off is met with helping a messy friend and family problems that are plaguing her. And the story is about friendship and about queer identity and about family. But it's also, and something that I've done in my entire film career has been humanizing stories of people within my community and people who share intersecting identities. I have a past with sex work in the city of Vancouver. So humanizing these stories and being able to bring them to a place like this has been my goal as an artist this whole time. So thank you.
And the name of the project?
17. Sorry, I just realized I should probably do that.
Good idea. It's a good idea. Great. That's who wants?
Hey, I can go next. So second sa wagway dano wat ko na wala dong gawa na hire Debbie Jacobs yajat agah no wagin ni dawag no dano dit karlun do ginagay. My name is Gawana Hire Debbie Jacobs. I'm an actor and filmmaker. I'm from Lahnawagan, Mohawk territory, but now I'm living in Toronto, aka Beach Gardundo or Adirdundo. And I'm the writer-director behind the feature film High Steel, which is a 90-minute dramatic feature film. And it follows a restless Mohawk ironworker as he grapples with his identity, his values, and his desires as he splits his life between his community, Kahnawake, and also New York City, where he works on the High Steel. And the film is loosely based on my own experiences, but also as well as my family's. I lived in New York for a short period of time, and I come from a long line of ironworkers on both sides of my family who built New York City. And I lived in New York for a little while and would travel back and forth with them as they would travel home on weekends. And it also talks about the identity as a Ganyet Gahaga person who you are when you're on your reserve in your community, and who you are when you're an individual in the city, and also dealing with basically hetero relationships through a Mohawk lens and what that dynamic looks like. Yeah, but that's basically my feature, High Steel.
Great, thank you. Tarato, I wanted to introduce yourself and your project.
Okay, thank you. Tēnā tātou katoa ko Tarato Stappert tōku ingoa. Hello everyone, my name is Tarato Stappert. I was born in Aotearoa in New Zealand, but I've lived and worked almost all of my life away from Aotearoa. I grew up in America, Germany, and I now live in London. My father, Alex Stappert, was English. He was born in Sheffield in Yorkshire. And my mother, Hannah Tātana, is Māori, and she grew up within her culture. Her parents, Rawiri Tātana and Ngāwiki Winiata, descend from the Ngāti Toa, the Ngāti Raukawa, and the Ngāti Tuwharetoa iwi, or tribes. Last year, the British Council funded my first trip back to Aotearoa in a really long time. I went there to present my latest short film, Mkatsini, which was screening in the Maoriland Film Festival, a beautiful event that takes place in the small town of Otaki. My mother grew up in that very area, and for me it was incredibly moving to reconnect with my whanaunga, my extended family and friends, to have the opportunity to visit Ao Marae, to experience Maori culture, and to hear te reo spoken fluently in the street, you know, even to have my full name, Taratoa, recognized and pronounced correctly. So the trip was a real stimulus to further develop some ideas that I've been working on that were inspired by my own Maori whakapapa, my own Maori heritage. And for the last year, that's what I've been doing. So my feature is called Marama. Marama is a Maori revenge horror set in Victorian England, 1869. It's the story of Mary Boyd, a young part Maori school teacher who journeys all the way from New Zealand to North Yorkshire in search of her identity. When she gradually uncovers the horrific truth of her own colonial heritage, she's compelled to confront and kill the psychopathic Englishman who destroyed her family, a man called Sir Nathaniel Cole, her own biological father. So Mary is a mixed race outsider character who finds herself isolated and unwelcome in Victorian English society. And as she searches for the truth of her whakapapa, of her lineage, with the spiritual guidance of her tupuna, her ancestors, Mary comes to discover that her real name is Marama, and she's drawn into a shocking voyage of self-discovery and ultimately of violent, bloody revenge. I think Marama is an unusual project in that there are not many period set feature films with significant Maori representation, and certainly none that I know of that take place in the UK. And the film digs into sensitive topics of identity anxiety, power abuse, cultural appropriation or theft, as well as the brutal colonial domination that has shaped Maori history, culture, practices, and beliefs. This is a very dark story of hideous secrets and unforgivable lies. Thanks.
Well done. Thank you. Thank you so much. And finally, Pipalaka, will you tell us a little bit about yourself and your project? And before you do that, tell us, I should have asked you all to tell us where you're coming in from. So Justin, you are calling in from Vancouver, is that correct? Yeah, and Deborah, where are you calling in from? Zooming in from?
From Toronto.
Toronto. And Toronto is for myself as well. And Teratoa, where are you zooming in from?
From London.
London, England. Yes, great. So Pipula, could you introduce yourself and your project and tell us where you're zooming in from?
Yes, hi, my name is Pipalukko Janssen and I'm from Greenland, Nuuk, Kalaallit Nunaat, and just love Imaginative. We have been working together for quite some years now and just love for me to be a part of this Screen Lab. My project is it's called This Road of Mine, and it's a film about friendship, loyalty, and a period film from the 90s till today, kind of, and based on true stories on this crazy little road in my community growing up there, and wanna have like all the experience you have on this road, it forms you into the life that these two characters dream for in the film. This is a feature film, and this is a film in a genre that I would call a tragic comic, but sliced drama. Like, so it has like potential for many, like, yeah, but it's a fantastic, crazy film, and I've been loving writing it. I am a really good place in the process of this film because I have been lucky enough to have producers jumping on this project very early. So my producers is we wanted to try to make a film that's told like representative of Kalaallit, like Inuit story. And this Inuit story is me as a director and screen playwright, and my producer is Red Merrill with Alethea Annakupero and Stacey McDonald, which is Qaluit based, and Jason Rao is my producer as well. So I have 3 great producers on this project. There is all Canadian or Canadian based. And what we're trying to do with this is we want to make a film that have no colonial borders in our Arctic region. Like we are so close and familiar with Inuit and Inuktitut from Greenland and like Inuit in the Qaluit, and it just makes sense for us to make this film as a co-production, collaborative story. We want to have an international production with an Inuit voice, and we already got some funding from Nunavut Film Development for in the development part, and Greenland government money for me to be writing for a whole year. So hopefully, and we will see if we can go in production next year.
Wonderful. Thank you, Miigwech. Thank you, everyone, for the beautiful introductions and a little bit about your project. For those of you who are watching and don't know anything about the Imaginative Screenwriting Intensive, it's about a 9 to 10 month program, which takes, in this case, 4 writers, 2 Canadian and 2 international, all Indigenous writers, through a process from pitch, idea, to treatment, a first draft, second draft, a third draft, and now they all have wonderful scripts to get out, to get produced in the world. But what I'd like to ask the panel here is, why did you want to apply for this screenwriting intensive? What was the inspiration, or what did you think you were going to get out of this? And this time I'll start with Deborah.
I knew I wanted to write High Steel for a while, but I just I'm a person who needs to work with deadlines. Otherwise, I'm just not going to get it done. But also, I'd heard such great things about the Imaginative Screenwriting Intensive, and I didn't go to film school. I haven't taken any courses in screenwriting. Basically, all I knew was I had read the book Save the Cat, and I've read a lot of scripts because I work as an actor. So I've read hundreds of scripts, and I was compelled of what makes a strong script, what doesn't make a strong script. And so I think I just wanted to get some of the fundamentals of writing, while also being in a safe space where we could afford to make mistakes, or we could afford to be collaborative. But for me, the program, that was why I wanted to enter the program. And I was just really happy when I was admitted into it. And I think I wouldn't have written a thing, I wouldn't have written a word if it wasn't for this program. It really basically put a fire under my ass to get it done. But also the feedback that you've given, Eva, and that everybody else in the program given me, as well as basically the entire team behind Imaginative. Your guys' insight and feedback is so insightful and specific, and is tangible things that I can actually get in and dive in deep. And that's not to say that my script is perfect yet, but I have such great tools to get it into an even better place than I did when I originally when we had our first treatment and draft.
Wonderful, thank you. I always say actors do bring something to the writing because of their familiarity with scripts and their understanding of dialogue and conflict and character. So when I get an actor, I'm always yes, because they understand what is sort of needed to make it to really pop. So it was wonderful to have you in the program. Teratora, could you tell us why you wanted to apply for the program?
I had received very useful development funding and support for Marama from the BFI here in London, the British Film Institute here in London, that took me to treatment stage. but I was really intrigued by the specificity of the Imaginative Screenwriting Intensive program. And the idea that I'd be able to go on a year-long development journey all the way to a polished final first draft with 3 fellow Indigenous writer-directors was just really appealing. So very, very pleased to have been able to take part in the course, in the program.
Wonderful. Somebody asked me yesterday, do you find that people are writing? Are they feeling inspired? And I was like, well, my writers have deadlines, so they're writing. But I think that the group nature of it, we're in it together. We're all meeting the same deadlines. I think I know sometimes writing a script, especially a feature, can be a lonely experience. So it's nice to have this community of support here in the group. Yes, thank you for that. Pipalak, why don't you share with us why you were inspired to apply for the program?
Yes, of course, because like Imaginative is the world's largest indigenous film festival in the world. So like, and to jump on to be a part of this community and understanding of wanna tell indigenous content and original stories that hasn't been seen. And of course the collab of, because I was actually thinking of, I already wanted to shoot this year. So because I actually got to this lab was, okay, I want to do the whole period of the lab to really go into the script part, because, and I think many Inuit can relate to, like if you see Zacharias Kunuk's films, it's all in his head. It's not really in the script. Like it is just like going with the flow, and a lot of people here in Greenland especially and work like that. It's not so much in the script. We rely on like on set to like go in and have it all in my head, especially me. So it was nice. Like I did my first feature film with almost everything in my head. I have it like in scenes and all things, but so it was really helpful for me to have this guideline and wanted to really work on the scripts. And besides of making this, I have worked on other scripts, as 2 other scripts as well, doing this script. So I have really, I was so glad to be picked for this, because it couldn't be better to really just, okay, now I have to really go on this journey of a whole year. But the other end is though, will I then just totally stick to the script, because that is not me? but it's nice, and I've been loving like doing this. So, and because of course Imaginative is the place to be a part of, like you want to shift the film world, then it's there, and be a part of that. Yeah, of course.
Yes, thank you. I think one of the really wonderful things about the program is the international writers that we have. It's just so wonderful to have Pipalak and Taratora, and of course our Canadian people too, but to have that international perspective, I think is really helpful, particularly on the feedback. Is this translating? Is my culture translating to somebody who's not in my community? So it's really wonderful to have your eyes and your voice and your perspective on the scripts. So thank you so much. Justin, can you share with us what inspired you and to apply, why you wanted to apply for the program?
Yeah. So I have been wanting to get really serious about making a feature for a while. I've made a few shorts, and they've all been really well received and treated at Imaginative when they've screened there. And my screenings at Imaginative have led me to so many other amazing opportunities in my film career. So when I saw the opportunity posted, I knew that it was something I wanted to jump onto, just because, I don't know, Imaginative as an institute has been really like more so than I think they would know, have been really like instrumental in me making films again, because I traveled to the festival in 2017 as a programmer. I used to do all of the queer Indigenous programming at the Vancouver Queer Film Festival, but going to Imaginative reminded me why I love film and why I wanted to make films. And I think that when I had seen the screenwriting intensive take place in person at Imaginative 2018, I believe it was, or 2019, it sort of solidified what I had, why I'd wanted to apply. I'd seen like this panel take place in person at Imaginative, and I was lucky enough to see, I think, one of the projects they read an excerpt from. And most of my writing experience has been pretty insular and private. And I haven't shared a lot of my work with people in the development stage. It's always been, okay, I've finished it, it's done, and then I will hand it off and we'll work. But this was super new to me, and it just honestly made me a better writer, like 100%. So much of the conversations that I think we had one-on-one, Eva, and then what we would have in a group, like just made, like Devry said, having a deadline is so nice when you're writing something like this. And it's actually so helpful, I think. So yeah, there was a magnitude of reasons, but mostly I think the main reason is because Imaginative has been so supportive, and they've handled my work with such care. And like, I just wanted to be a part of this crew.
Yes, thank you. The good folks at Imaginative are nothing but wonderful and supportive of this program, and they give great notes, which is really nice. But a little bit kind of more about the intensive is there's deadlines that y'all met them, so thank you for that. No one was late and didn't make the deadlines, but there also is a lot of feedback given on the scripts, both individually with me and the writers, and then sort of in group sessions as well. So I'd like to sort of transition now and talk a little bit about process, and if you could share with us, and particularly the writers out there who are listening, what it was like to be in the program as a writer, and talk a little bit about process. Teotoa, would you mind starting us off, talking a little bit about the writing process and how this program may have shaped it?
Well, I was going to say one of the most beneficial aspects of being on a program like this, as far as my writing is concerned, or as far as I think anyone's writing is concerned, is it felt like it was the difference between writing alone in an empty vacuum, which is what writing is, and the motivating feeling that, that I'm writing alongside, in this case, 3 other writers with the constant, full support from the Imaginative development team. You, Eva, said at the beginning of the process that what we're looking to come away with at the very end is a kind of a good, polished, final first draft, and that was great because it took the pressure off those initial drafts. Although we've done 3 drafts together, and I'm about to get into my 4th one, I will consider that 4th draft a good, polished first draft. And I thought that was really good at the beginning of the process when you said that, because it kind of freed us up to, so it freed me up anyway, from my experience, it freed me up to just get stuff down and get it done. Definitely would second what Justin and Devry said as well about deadlines. The deadlines are crucial, because surely every writer knows what it's like to think, I'm going to write this thing, and then and you still haven't put anything down. It's really straightforward on this program. You've got a deadline at every stage of the process, and yeah, we all hit them because we got the good support from you guys. So it's been good. Thank you.
Tripala, can you share a little bit about your process, your writing process, and how the program may have shaped that?
Like for me, it is, like I really like the deadlines as well, but for me in writing is like I can sit and think for 10 days or something. Not like, for me it was really to feel something and feel like I need to feel something. Like I'm not like, even though I have deadlines, I can sit down and then, okay, I do 2 hours here and like, but I can have like notes going out in my mind when I go to bed, and then suddenly, okay, that's the scene, but and then it's hidden, and then so for me really is like the deadlines was really good to say, okay, now I have 4 days to deliver, and I have used 20 days to think, and then I write. Like, and then those deadlines was good and works for me, like to deliver something. And I have been written a lot before we started this, so it's already an idea that was written maybe a year before. So I was like a kind of long in the process. So when I got in this program was really, okay, now I actually write in dialogues. Now I'm actually writing like come to there. So the process was really nice. And I like the start of it was really good. And I think the end for me was because I was a little too busy with other things, was like, but like now I love, like we see, I will have loved to come to Imaginative this year, and like COVID did what it did, but that will just be a peak for the whole, like, because it has been hard. It's not easy. It's not easy to dig in, and because it's such a personal story for everyone, of course, it is go in, like I found my journal when I was like 20 years old, like 20 years ago, and just like reading what I was then to where I am now. It is hard. It's hard emotionally. So it takes really time. So we have really good deadlines and time to go into the next and next. So that has been helpful. Yeah.
Thank you. Justin, why don't you share with us a little bit about your process and how the program may have aided or shaped that?
Yeah. So it's funny, I like actually relate a lot to what people was just saying in terms of like the deadlines and like letting your story sort of formulate in your head, in your mind. I think one of the earliest sessions that I had with you, Eva, you said something to me that like sort of changed my structure of thinking about writing, because I did go to film school and I find myself unlearning so many things that were forced on me that are like industry or I don't know, like just standard because it's the way people have been doing things for 100 years. But Eva, you were like, remember you're writing even when you're not writing. So like, even when you're going about your day and you're on the bus or like you're everything, like your story's still with you. And I think that I never thought about it like that. So I actually did so much writing in my head. And before I would even really get to the page. And it's funny because this is the first time that I've ever been writing with deadlines and like with accountability attached to the project. But my process didn't really change per se because I'm not the type of writer who will like schedule 2 hours or 3 hours here to write and do it. I don't do that at all. I will write when it's coming and when I feel like it's there. And there were moments where it was like, 2 days before a deadline and I maybe wasn't really happy with what I had on the page, but so much of the conversations that we have with you, Eva, one-on-one, with everyone as a group, I think, even if all of the notes that I was given didn't lead me to where I needed to be, it helped me sit there and still think about where I needed to be or where I wanted to be. And something I think that was really important to me when I started writing this specific project, because I had a few features that I was going to apply to this intensive with. And 17 had been one that I had been collaborating on with some community members. And I am first and foremost accountable to the community that I'm writing about or I'm writing for or writing with. And for that, it was a small group of queer Indigenous sex workers. And I loved how even in all of the process, all of the notes like that, I was never really that accountability was never lost, you know? I was always still first and foremost answering to that community, but then coming and getting these notes and having these conversations just like totally widened the lens for me. And I was able to think about things that maybe I wasn't allowing in because I was keeping the project very safeguarded. So that was amazing. Like, I think any advice to anyone would be like, take some risks when you're doing it and like trust yourself, but definitely take some risks. Cause I think like when you get in a group like this and you're writing, so much can come up for you creatively. And I think like letting yourself explore those thoughts and go on these journeys and these rides is like I said, it made me a better writer. So yeah.
Thank you for that. And Devray, same question to you. Can you share a little bit about your writing process and how the intensive aided or shaped that?
I think for me, because I've also been producing and I've worked on and commissioned two different writers to do 2 different scripts. And so I've been doing that for the past couple of years. And so between that and another feature that I had co-written, I was used to very collaborative projects, but it was like a really vulnerable thing for me to take on a feature film script on my own, where I'm not commissioning a writer to do it, where I'm not collaborating with other people and co-writing it and divvying up scenes and whatnot. It was just like starting from a blank page with ideas in my head, and it was just really intimidating. And that was one of the main reasons why I applied for this program. But I think that it felt, that this story is very personal and that it's very intimate. And for some reason that it's like when it's just me writing on my own, that it feels so much more private and like scary to share with other people. And but I think it kind of broke me out of it during this. Not completely. I still have like many people in my life that I want to show this script to, but it just kind of like lifted that sense of privacy and almost like shame of, oh, it's not ready yet, I'm not ready to show people. And it just kind of like forced me to talk about it and break down what, like, even though if it's in my head, what are the things that I want to share, what are the things that I want to say in this movie. And then talking with you, Eva, has been like so helpful in indicating like, okay, how are these different ways that I can share this and show it on screen, as opposed to it just being in my head and not necessarily being on the page for producers or whoever is gonna read it while it's still in script form. So it's been like an incredible but like grueling process, as feature film writing is, but it's also been incredibly rewarding. I think this was my first feature writing as a solo writer, like strictly from, not adapted from anything else, only from my own ideas and inspirations. So it's been tough, but I mean it in like the best way.
Wonderful, thank you. COVID really put a wrench into our plans, because we were planning to come together in March, which we had to do virtually, and we're planning to come together for the festival, but now we're here online. But nevertheless, you all still delivered, so thank you for that. As we've been talking, a big part of this process is the feedback and getting feedback on your writing. And I'm sort of keen to hear what you thought of your other writers' works when you first had the opportunity to read the drafts. So Pippa, can you share with us like some of your thoughts when you first read some of your fellow writers' stories?
Yes. First of all, it is like in digital stories. Like that is like I think there is a force now, and like in Maui, and like, because I've been talking so much with the Maui Film Festival as well, and I know a little of their culture and stuff like that, was just like, oh, and now there is actually a period film, there's doing this and this, and my first feature film was set in New York as well, and with Greenland, and like, so these stories was, first of all, I didn't know what to expect. and then when I just saw it, I was just, okay, this is high professional level. Like, and am I in that? Like, I was like, that is just the first thing. Like, of course, like you always doubt yourself in some point in process it, right? And so when I was reading, I was like, okay, wow, that is really, it's so professional. Like, this is really where I see, okay, these things need to get producers very soon to get them for the next step, because I think especially when you have a group of like getting feedback from Eva, but then have like Kate doing, like, she's totally like Londoner, white woman, like, and giving another kind of feedback that is very like, and that is so nice that it is so different. Even though, and when you actually look at your notes and seeing the other films and hearing their notes as well, it is like this. It is really like, you see. I know that you say, Tauta, that it is the first draft, but like it is. I think like, okay, wow, there's a film. So I will say, this is really, I really love that it is so professional and it's really high level, and I think it's ready to like go into to look for buyers and look for producers on these projects, because this is the new voice of indigenous storytelling, and it is imaginative. Um, Having these people around coming out with new stories. So yeah, I was very overwhelmed, and I was joyful because it's needed. It's so needed, like, to see these stories, understand, and then hopefully these stories will come, or they will go on screen. So I think it was, yeah, I love it.
Yes, the quality of all of the stories and the quality of the writing is spectacular for all of the projects. But you all know I love you. So, Justin, will you share with us what were some of your thoughts and your first impressions of the work when you first had an opportunity to read the scripts?
Yeah, I think my first thought was how badly I wanted to see all of these films be made. And yeah, I'll just also like got so excited about, you know, I think that if these screenplays are any testament to like the future of Indigenous cinema, I feel like I'm so excited and ready to just see more and more. And it's funny, I think like each of these projects were so individual and so different, but, and we talked about this, Toa, when we had our group feedback, but like there's something that almost links them all together, or like there's a through line. And like I think that comes when you have a cohort that's all writing such like amazing yet personal stories. I think each of us had like a specific relationality to the story that we were writing that meant a lot to us, and that was all obviously coming forward in the work. But yeah, I just want to see it all. And like, I don't know, the imposter syndrome thing is so real, people. Luke, I remember when I first saw the announcement, I was like, me? Did I just wear them all down, like, by applying to everything? But yeah, it's amazing. Like I want to see them all now. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dave Ray, I'd love to hear what you thought of your first impressions when you read some of your other fellow writers' scripts.
I think similarly to People Look and also Justin, yeah, that when I first read everybody's scripts, it made perfect sense because we had been seeing each other on Skype and Zoom, and we had been chatting for so long, but to read each writer's work was so tailored to them and was so of them, and reading it was just like, yes, this makes perfect sense to them as an individual in their writing and their stories and their experiences. I was hugely impressed by everybody's talent and also writing capabilities. And I could see any of these be made, and I want to see all of these be made. But I'm saying that like I could see them all in the theaters. I want to see them next week. And yeah, I think it's just like I was really impressed and also just like happy to be a part of this group where we are able to pull from each of our unique voices and stories. And what you had said, Justin, that's like a through line between each of the stories. That can also be felt. There's something that connects all of us in each of our unique experiences and perspectives as writers.
Thank you. And Tara Tor, when we've met last time, you had some real insight on what connected the script. So I'd love for you to share some of that along with your impressions of the scripts.
Oh, well, reading the other three scripts for me was kind of emotional, I suppose, because yes, like Justin said, I also had I think if this is what you're saying, Justin, I had a slight sense of imposter syndrome submitting my first feature screenplay to be read by three other really strong Indigenous writer-directors. And I was nervous as hell.
Did we lose him?
The three, and then the second, and then the third script. I felt, oh, have I gone? So,
no, you're back.
Okay. I was just going to say, as soon as I read the first of the three scripts, and then the second, and then the third, I felt at home. And there was something that, even though the four stories are very different and take place in completely different environments and milieus, for me, the through was one of characters and individuals finding themselves, going on journeys, almost all of them literally journeys, whether over the period of a day or across to the other side of the world, of self-discovery. And interestingly, every script featured a funeral. I figured out as well. That was just one observation, but yeah, it was a great privilege to read the scripts and to be part of the group of four. Thanks.
Thank you. All of the scripts are really high quality, and producers out there, these are wonderful projects that need to get made. I'm sort of kind of wanting to know a little bit about what's next for you and what's next for the project. I know Pippa Luck has some plans already kind of going, and she spoke to it a little bit, but Pippa Luck, can we start with you, and can you tell us what's next for you and what's next for the project, This Road of Mine?
Yes, hopefully I will have it will not be the final draft, but a really good draft now to go into applications. And so what we will do is try to co-produce Canada, Greenland, Iceland, because it takes place in all of these countries. And the majority will be like a Canadian funded film. Like that is what we are aimed to do, because what we are here in Greenland is not that we don't have an industry or environment yet of like government money is so small to this kind of film. And because Alethea and Red Mirror did such a good job with The Grizzlies, that is one of the, I think, really, really good film that came out like in 2018. This is just the next step of selling an Inuit story from an Inuit director. And again, what we are saying with this project is this: we don't have any borders. Like that is my cousins in the Arctic area. So what we will try to do is try to fund money from the Arctic area in Canada to say that this is an Inuit film. And we are speaking Kalaallisut in the film, Greenlandic, and that is not like, that is Inuktitut. Like we know each other's languages. And we are so lucky up here in Greenland to have our language very much written, and we speak it every day. This is like this is our first language, and everyone speaks it. Everyone has it in school, and like so, what we want to do is with having the Greenlandic and Inuktitut kind of like mixed in, that we have a Inuk film. So the process hopefully is to try to fund those money. We already have co-producers in Iceland as well. So with those money, hopefully I can get in production August next year. That is the aim for this project.
Wonderful. And I think I've said this to the group before. You write a script to tell your story and to get people to fall in love with your story, but you also write a script so you can go get money. And that's certainly part of the next step. And you're already off, Pipalek, so I'm looking forward to seeing your movie and all of these movies on the screen. Terator, will you tell us a little bit about what's next for you and the project?
Sure. So, well, having written, proud of, one of the best things out of participating in Imaginative is in fact an initiative that you, Eva, made for me. Eva, the New Zealand Charlene George at Berlin, at the Berlin Film Festival, and you connected me with her. Charlene has her own successful production company called Sweet Shop and Green, and she was actively looking for Indigenous content earlier this year. Marama wasn't ready to share with her at the time, but I sent Charlene a short called Taumanu, which is a Maori word with two distinct meanings: to colonize and to reclaim. It's set in 1929 in New Zealand, but it definitely shares themes with Marama. And Charlene liked the script and we agreed to keep in touch. Then a couple of months later, she invited me to apply with her and her company to a call out by TV New Zealand for an anthology of supernatural Indigenous stories. After a really long and involved application process, last month, I was confirmed to rewrite and direct Taumanu as one of 8 half-hour episodes of primetime TV drama. And I'll be shooting early next year back in Aotearoa. My script for Marama is set approximately 85% in England and 15% in New Zealand, in Aotearoa. So I'm now looking to connect with an experienced UK producer, possibly European co-producers, and potentially to expand my collaboration with Charlene and Sweet Shop and Green, and to work with them as New Zealand producers on the project. So yeah, thank you again. I just want to acknowledge, Eva, that you're the person that connected me with one other person that resulted in me getting my first half hour of primetime drama back in New Zealand. So thank you, Ngā mihi nui.
Again, you had a good short script, which I read, and I was like, you could connect, but the script, if you have a good script, you can get places, and you're going places, and it's actually a really good a short film to make before you make the feature.
I hope so, yeah.
Justin, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's next for you and what's next for the project? What are your plans?
Yeah, so with 17, I think my next moves, I'm really happy with this first draft that I've been able to write with this program. But now I think I'm taking this draft that I've written and I'm going back to do some community consultation, which is sort of where this story began. But yeah, I'm hoping to start some sessions, hopefully here in Vancouver or maybe virtually, depending on access. But yeah, so I'm going to consult with street-based sex workers who are interested in consulting with the script and giving me feedback. So I'm currently applying for funding to fund that endeavor. And I think that will probably take place over the course of 6 months, like half a year, depending on scheduling and availability. But then after that, after it goes through what I think is probably going to be its final community consultation phase, I am hopefully going to pedal to the ground and try and make this. So I'm currently on the hunt for a producer. If anyone is interested, I just finished a Catalyst mentorship with Vancouver International Film Festival. and I met a few folks there. So I'm hoping to build some relationships with professional working producers. Yeah, and that's my next step. I'm also working on some other side projects that I can't super talk about just yet, but hopefully they're coming to life soon. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Let's talk about the Vancouver scene. I have some ideas. And Desiree, why don't you share with us what's up next for you and the project?
Next for the project, I think I'm going to focus on getting another draft into where I'm happy with it in this place, and then I'm going to like shift gears into, okay, let's like get people involved. Let's get executive producers. Myself and my partner also produce our own projects, mostly out of necessity, but we also love to do that and have a handful of projects in development. But yeah, as far as High Steel goes, I would like a little more like creative brain time with it. And then from there, I'm gonna then look for getting funding and different people involved in trying to get it off the ground.
We are all waiting for all of these films to make it. I think I've shared with you, each one of these scripts have made me cry. So they're both they're all emotional, and they really, even though I've never been to Greenland, I really connected to that story, and I really could see my community in that story, in all of the stories. And so we need these films to be made. I just wanted to say that I'm really grateful for all of your work. I'm grateful for your commitment, for your vulnerability, and for trusting me with your story. I'm just so proud of all of you.
I'm grateful for you, Eva.
Yeah, let's go, Eva. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Eva.
Eva, thank you.
You have single-handedly made me a better writer, and I stand by that statement.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. It's quite a pleasure because I, as a writer myself, I know how difficult it is, and getting feedback that you can take and do something with is so important to grow the script. And I think I talked this metaphor with many of you about throwing clay on a wheel. When you do pottery, you just throw a bunch of clay, and that's what we're doing when we were doing these first drafts. We're just throwing stuff on the wheel so that we could shape it. But if you don't put anything on the page, there's really nothing to talk about. And so you were brave and you put things on the page, and were vulnerable enough to share it so that people could give you guidance. And I hope that all the guidance came from love. But yeah, so kind of like mindful of time. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to say, if you had anything else to say about the Imaginative Screenwriting Intensive, this would be your time.
Yeah, I just urge emerging writers to apply for these types of opportunities, even if it scares you. I think if it scares you, then you should do it like 10 times more, because I think that we learn the best in those types of environments. And like literally everybody at Imaginative and like Eva, the whole team, they could not be more supportive and more understanding about however you write, whatever you're writing. Like, I think, yeah, if you have something to say and you want to develop, I think definitely, please, everyone, apply to this. Apply to all of these opportunities. I think that Imaginative Industry Series has offered. Yeah.
I echo Justin's sentiments wholeheartedly. It's such a creative and supportive environment, and yeah, like this, I'm sure that doing this scared the shit out of all of us, but that's exactly like why we should have done this. And it helps you become a better writer. And yeah, I just have like nothing but love for this program and for you guys.
Mm-hmm. Me too. I'm just been to the festival from quite some years now, like all the way from Greenland, going to sometimes Denmark, to go all the way to Canada and so forth, like, and to be a part of this was just yeah, it made me yeah, a better writer. And because of you, Eva, it was so easily to open up, like, and I think that was very important, because when it's so fragile, like in the beginning, it is really a like you have a space where you can be totally open, and that is hard, like and especially like this, like if you sit and have a coffee and talk 3 hours, then it's easier, but to be so open virtually, but thank you, Imaginative, and thank you, Jason. I want to say Jason as well, Jason Ryle, for have been working so hard for so many years at Imaginative, and he's just really the force for me and Greenland to be a part of Imaginative and open like an Inuit door into the festival, that I'm just really grateful. So thank you to Jason Ryle as well.
I would just say yes, agreed with all those 3 fabulous opinions, and participating in a program like Imaginative, one of the things I was most looking forward to, I have to say, was coming to Toronto and to connecting with the other 3 writers, which on this program you get to do twice. Obviously, this year's been a ridiculous year and none of that happened. However, somehow either you and the team at Imaginative made it come together, yes, virtually, but still in a very intense way that, okay, we didn't get to go out for dinner together. I didn't get to go to Toronto for 2 weeks, but I'm hoping to next year to come to the Imaginative Festival, next October. Let's hope that the festivals are happening again then. But somehow, even through this last year, you guys made the process of writing so far 3 drafts of my first screenplay a real pleasure, and it's been great, even though it's been online, even though it's been virtual, even though it's been by Zoom with my shitty Wi-Fi connection. It's been really great to connect with everyone else on this program. So thank you very much. Namihiro.
Wonderful. And I think that wraps up our panel for the Screenwriting Intensive. Shout out to the folks at Imaginative and people who gave us money so that we could do this. Yes. And I know what's coming down the pike. So I know that these stories are amazing, but I cannot wait for the audiences to watch these movies so that they could feel just a little bit of the love that I feel for all of them. Thank you so much. For coming.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Regrets.
Okay, I think we're live now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the question and answer session of the panel for the Imaginative Screenwriting Intensive. I'm here with Teratoa Bullock and Justin. Desiree is out in Los Angeles working, so she won't be able to join us today, but we're all happy she's working and looking forward to that project. We have, thanks for everyone for coming. We have some questions, so I'll throw them out to the panel. One of them says that they loved all the projects and they wanted to know, what hurdles did you encounter when writing the stories? And the second part is, were there scenes or characters that were difficult to get right? So how about we start with you, Teratoa. Can you talk to us about some of the difficulties that you encountered writing the story and some of the characters that might have been challenging?
Not so much about the characters or scenes, but the story itself. I would say it wasn't a challenge. It was just like a realization that it took a long time for it to percolate and get right as a story. And I went through lots of different drafts of the treatment, and in fact wrote quite a detailed, long treatment, about 35 pages of treatment, which I then was able to just lift up and put bang straight into the script. And that was positive, because it just meant that I was that much further ahead. It's a bit easier. I think I'll do this again every time. I think write a long, detailed treatment and have something that I can put into the script, because otherwise I imagine it would be really daunting just starting with a blank page and trying to start scene 1, and even if you're just copying it, it was so much nicer just to be able to drag and lift it straight in. So that would be my tip. Write a very precise and as detailed as you like treatment beforehand, or outline of the story that you want to tell.
Yeah, and the treatment is helpful because it helps you identify some of the story problems before you start pounding the keys on a script.
Definitely.
Did you find any of your characters particularly difficult to write?
No, sorry, not to sound, yeah, but no, I didn't. I enjoyed writing all of them. I think I've mentioned in one of our conversations, one of the most fun bits for me was the realization at one stage I had too many characters and things weren't working as a story in the draft. And it suddenly occurred to me, I could just lose this character. I can just kill her. She doesn't have to exist in this story. And everything just fell into place. So that was a really great realization that, you know, if you come up with too many characters, just edit them away and things suddenly fell into place. It's amazing what you realize you don't need. Yeah.
Great. Pippola, can you share with us some of the challenges you encountered when writing and if there were any characters that were difficult to get?
I think it was the hard part was like emotionally because there was so much. This is such a personal story and it's true events. So in a small community as Nuuk, even though this is the largest city in Greenland and the capital, then it's still a small community to look like in an international perspective. But I think it was hard because some of the scenes were so brutal and it's something I should be careful around with the people. Like in my point of view was what I saw as a kid, but how will my community react if they actually recognize themselves on screens? That was a little hard though, but I guess in the process I was more like, no, I need to just do it from the heart and then I can edit afterwards. So it was hard to like, can I actually say this? Can I do this? And these people that have died and the families left behind, like, because I like when it's on screen, people will see, especially the people that know me and my community, they will see maybe some things that could be hard. So that was a little hard and challenging. But I think with the characters was I had two characters like and they are main character, both of them. One of them was very easy in the drama to write. The other one relates so much to myself, and that was actually very hard to like. Who am I? And like, so of course, so that was that, and it's still a little struggle. I still like in the end of this for the next draft, it is okay. I have to. This is a story not about me. It's about. Yeah, it is. It is a fiction film in the end of the day. So, but it is hard to go in and dig in and want to have yourself in the picture as well. So yeah, it was hard, but I'm almost there.
Great. Thank you. Justin, can you share with us some of the challenges you encountered when you were writing and if any characters were particularly challenging?
Yeah, I think that everyone who writes and like sits down and engages with like the practice knows like personal specific hurdles that I think we have as writers that maybe we like set up out of comfort or just because it's the way that we practice. I haven't really gotten good at naming those just yet. So I mean, there were so many things. I think that, you know, I care a lot about the story and I care a lot about the characters, and I think that I really wanted to get it right. So I was keeping things really close and trying to be really safe with what I was doing. But I think that being in the program and being able to talk about stuff and open up where I was coming from, I think with the story, it helped me sort of move past any of those fears that I think I had. Yeah.
Thank you. A question here about how long it took to write the screenplay. So we were all a bit on the same timeline, but but I think you applied last November. Does that sound right? And I think you were selected by December of last year, and we were writing treatments in January and February of this year. And then you completed a polished first draft by October. So about a year, took us about a year, and there were milestones around deadlines, if you will, along the way. I guess the question that relates to that I personally have is, did you feel like you had enough time each phase of the way to make meet the deadline? And I'll start with you, Pippa.
I have been writing on this for 2 years now. So I already did the treatment and did all the characters and actually did a little pilot of the film for some of the scenes. So I was like in my material when I applied. So it was like the right timing for me to get in the lab, because I was actually like starting structuring things. So it was really nice for me to, like, this process was, okay, I need to do the first draft now, but I was already there. I don't think, like, I think this was, because I finished my first feature film in 2018 and it premiered there. So I was already starting the next project. And I don't think like it was, it takes some years. It does. And from now on, it will take maybe, hopefully not that long, because we have really worked on the script this year. So, but like for my last script, that took 7 years. So,
It takes time.
so that took time, but now this is a 2-year process. Hopefully next year I'll finish, and then it will go in production. Like I want to have it for 3 years and not 7.
Justin, talk to us about when you came into the program, you really just had an idea and a bit of a treatment.
Yeah.
What did you think about? Did you feel like you had enough time? Did the deadlines feel right for you?
Definitely. I think in order to get to what I have now on the page and to get like a solid, like people have said, this draft that we've gotten, definitely. And I started with, like Eva, you'll probably remember, like my story wasn't super fleshed out. I had like a very specific idea of how I wanted to explore this, but it took a lot of time for me to figure out where I wanted it to go and how I wanted that to play out. And I think as writers, I think it's really important for us not to like focus on, how long it might take for us to get to the end. But like, I was aware that like in the back of my mind when writing all this, that it was always going to be an ongoing process. And that like, I was always open to things changing and to stuff going in different directions. So I think like being aware of like how you like writing and how often that comes to you, and then I think you start to feel less pressure about finishing something quickly. You hear these amazing stories about someone who's written like an award-winning script in like a weekend, and like that's definitely possible, but I think we have to give ourselves more allowance. So yeah, I mean, having deadlines as well, that's a whole other amazing tool, I think, for writers. I'm sure we can all agree. So yeah, I thought it was really great, and I think that even as a group, like we got to spend so much time, I think, singularly with our stories before we really shared stuff. But I mean, 2020 felt like a longer year than any other, so maybe that's just the side effect of that. But
thank you. Taratora, can you share with us your process, because your story was quite involved, and that's why you spent a lot of time in that. We spent a lot of time going over that treatment. Can you talk to us about the process? Did it feel like it gave you enough time, that kind of thing?
Definitely. Like Justin was just saying, I mean, you mentioned before that we've done one draft over, the 10 months of this program, but in fact, it's been 3 drafts, and there's been quite a lot of change between my first, second, and third draft as well. They weren't just small tweaks. And now I'm going to do another big change between my third and fourth draft based on the latest round of feedback. So just to say to anyone listening, thinking, oh my God, it's going to take me a year to write one draft. No, it's going to take you a year, I would suggest, to write 3 or 4 drafts. And that seems reasonable. And I would suggest also that if you can come to the process with at least some decent outline idea of the story that you want to tell, the more the better, really, so that you can land in the program and be ready to write that first draft. But I have to say, this is my first feature script that I've written. So finishing that first draft back in, was it February of this year, felt amazing to me. And then it also felt like, why have I waited so long to my first feature script? And one thing I did do in April, when I was in a bit of a low with the project Marama, and I just needed to refresh, and a group of writers that I know put out this WhatsApp group request to see who wants to join and who wants to do this kind of screenwriting challenge, and have you got any ideas that you just want to get down on the page? And there was about 8 of us, and together we wrote over 14 days individually our first draft. They called it a vomit draft. Now, I'm not saying it's a good way of writing a screenplay, but it was interesting, and it was never something that I would have had the nerve to do had I not done a first draft of Marama. And I haven't even looked at the script again, but I've got another feature screenplay in my drawer. It might be terrible, but just in terms of how long does it take to write a draft? Well, if you're ready to go and you've got an idea and you're just procrastinating, it's not a bad idea to think about coming together with a few friends and challenging each other to write a draft it doesn't have to be 14 days, could be a month. But just as long as you'll stick to a schedule, it is possible to do. It's about writing without being perfectionist about it. And I spent many years, perfecting ideas, when in fact, sometimes it's good just to get them down on paper. And you can do them, you can do them really quick. But anyway, it's been a great process.
Great, thank you. Our next question here is, can you give us any advice for getting over a creative block or writer's block? Justin, do you have any advice that you personally used in this process?
I think that finding point people in your life that you can talk to about your process, and especially your story, even if you just take the aspect of physically writing out of the equation, but if you have someone that you can sit there and talk to with your story, that made a huge difference to me. When I started this program, my writing career was super insular. I never really shared it. I didn't really talk about my writing with other people. And that, I think that was a huge, lifted a huge block away from me, because I was able to not be super, I don't want to say gatekeepy with my story, but I think that it, we write things because we want people to see them and watch them and connect to them. And I think that, there's an aspect of us, I think, as screenwriters, where we do want to keep certain aspects of our stories secret or to ourselves. But really, finding someone that I can just talk to and even just analyze the characters, why they would make this decision, why they would say something like that. That helped me so much. And then recognizing that you're always writing even when you're not. You don't have to be physically sitting in front of your computer to be writing. I think that our brains are always working, and we're constantly doing something, constantly thinking of the story. So yeah, just be aware of how and when things come to you, I think, because writing is it's hard work. But I think everyone who does it knows that when it comes to you, it's so you almost can't stop it. So
yeah. And very much part of this process is remembering that you're storytellers, and we spent a lot of time you telling me the story, because I think it gives the writer ownership, and you discover things as you're talking about it. Gems, really, when you get to talk about your story with someone who cares. It makes a huge difference. Teratoy, can you give some recommendations for blocks for anyone who might encounter writing block?
Definitely, and two very different, but my main one is going for a walk. Just got to get out and walk, could be for 20 minutes, or it could be for 2 or 3 hours. I live in London at the moment, so it's just going to the local park and walking around. Sometimes I put on music, and almost the act of walking and just relaxing allows your head to just forget the stress of, I can't find my way out of this particular scene, what's going, and just think about something different, put on the music, and suddenly stuff comes to you, or sometimes it doesn't, but it's about being kind to yourself and giving yourself the permission to stop sitting at your laptop and stressing about having to finish a scene. That's the main thing I would say, is just taking a break. And you said yourself that really, once you're into an idea, even when you're watching a completely different film or reading a different book, you're thinking about your idea and you're kind of writing about it. And that's been my feeling over this year. When you're in a good groove, everything relates to the idea somehow. And that's a good space to be in. But giving yourself permission to not feel you have to do 4 pages a day or something, because the days where I was able to do nothing. And you just relax and just think, oh, it's okay, I've been thinking about it. And then suddenly it will come and you'll have a good day of 4 pages or 5 pages. Yeah, that would be my idea.
Great, thank you. And Pippa, do you have any tips for writer's blocks for some of our writers out there listening?
Yeah, I really like to talk to my friends as well, and people who knows the characters, and go into find inspiration in some point, like a little shop where there's going to be a dialogue or something. And then just hearing something from one saying another to another, then that, okay, I can use that, and they're saying this, and maybe I can use that, and just really get out and be inspired by find the characters on the street that you think that is almost the character that you want to write about. And then definitely with my friend, like talking to her almost like daily when I was writing, like, okay, she says this, and then what, how did you and your father's relationship, so I just listen to people and then take what I wanted, like if I was in a blog. But I will say now, have time, because at the moment I have like a writing block, and I should sit and write, and it does like, oh, I need to finish, but so you need to get have space for it, and that means money too. Like, if that is very important for, like, I was so pleased that I was granted from the Greenlandic government to actually sit and write, and then get some from you, from Imaginative as well, because you need to, like, I have a house bill to pay and all that. So when you are in a blog, if you don't have time, it easily get in a writing blogging. So to get support money wise as well for writing, that I think is important, for not to get so much into these blocking periods. And it is totally normal, and when you know the process, just be in the process, because it will come.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think we've run out of time for our question and answer panel, but I just wanted to thank all of you, my writers, including Devery, who's not here, for your commitment, for the work. I know that this is not easy, but you all have done such a wonderful, fabulous job. I'm really proud of you. And thank you to everyone who turned in to watch our panel today on the Screenwriting Intensive. I understand we'll do another call for the next year, so keep an eye out at the Imaginative website to see when that call will be out, and looking forward to all the new writers who come in and apply for the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you.